You were listening to ChartingWealth.com for Friday, the 28th of April, 2017. Stocks are up for the day. Gold and bonds down. Let's jump right into the S&P 500 on our weekly chart. What do we see going on? Well, we see a big up candle for the week that will be ending on Friday the 28th. Has not happened as of this recording. We see strong movement pushing through the weekly trend line, and of course it's over the 2-day trend line. Not a crossover going up yet, still a lot of down power on the derivative oscillator, but we do see the price percent oscillator heading toward the signal line. Hasn't happened yet, up 0.08%, so not up a lot for the day, but up 0.08%. If we look at our 2-day chart, we do see that we have a closed crossover. So that, of course, means that as far as our weekly vertical trend line goes, our weekly vertical crossover goes, even though that is still in play, not a wise move to be in that trade at all for any reason at this point. Once people always ask, what is the final signal? There's a lot of different signals, but when you get the 2-day crossover, doesn't mean that we can't use the weekly vertical crossover when the 2-day chart rotates back over going down. Does mean it's dangerous, though, to get into an up move on the 2-day chart until the weekly vertical crossover occurs. You can look back and back test this again and again and again. As long as the weekly vertical crossover going down is still in play, getting into a 2-day, I experimented with this about a month ago and did a practice trade thinking that, oh, could this be enough to pull the weekly over? And you can't reliably do that. So again, your best time to always get into a move is once that weekly vertical crossover occurred. We had nice, strong down movement from the jumping in point on the S&P 500 over the course of several days, actually over a week, going down. So again, be very, very careful if you're thinking that this 2-day crossover means that it is going to be a confirmed up move and something that you can actually get into and trade. It may be possible, but it is not long-term reliable over and over again, like we've seen in the past with our weekly vertical crossovers. Okay, let's keep moving through the charts. We're going to next go to the Qs. We do have a confirmed, well, we're getting close to a confirmed weekly vertical crossover going up just on the 3rd week after we had, well, actually just 2 weeks after we had our weekly vertical crossover going down. Hasn't happened yet. Looks like it might be getting close. We'll just have to see if that actually sticks out and crosses over at the end of the week. If so, we'll be sending you out a notice on that. That means a great deal. We can say that on our 2-day chart, with the closing of the 2-day candle on 4/27 at the end of the day on Thursday, we do have a confirmed 2-day crossover going up. That is confirmed on the Qs. Lots of strong up movement after a very short period of time for down moves. And then, of course, the Qs, the NASDAQ 100 just flew off the charts. And again, we see that 2-day crossover occurring, and we also see things flipping over from red to green as far as the derivative oscillator. That typically means a stronger trend and blasting through the Bollinger Bands, just blasting up. So again, that move for the time being is gone. Again, if we see at the end of the weekly vertical crossover crosses over going up, then of course we will notify you of that. Let's keep moving through these charts and see what's going on the 20-year bond fund. Down just a little bit for the day, 0.03%. And again, PPO still heading up, derivative oscillator still gaining just a tiny bit of energy. We see a spinning top, more down wick than up wick. So again, if you asked, where's there more momentum, you could argue a little more in the down area than in the up area. Although with all the pressure down, that the bears were able to drag it. The bulls were able to pull it up, still above the weekly trend line as far as the 20-year bond fund goes. But again, cautious warnings there. Just continue to pay attention. That is on the weekly chart. Now let's delve in and look at the 2-day. Moving down rapidly, blasted through the 2-day trend line and is pushing through, has actually closed on the 2-day chart, closed below the weekly trend line, getting close to a crossing over, going down. So again, pay close attention to that. Hopefully, you jumped in at the right point on TLT and you've made a nice profit as it has moved up. And again, remember what we were talking about just a minute ago, where we saw the 2-day crossover going down, and then it crossed back over, moving in the same direction as the weekly trend line that never changed. It continued to be in an up direction. The 2-day crossed over, getting you potentially out of that trade if you had not gotten out before when it peaked. And the getting in point was later after that 2-day crossover occurred, going in the same direction as the weekly vertical crossover. So again, the weekly controls. Just because the 2-day crosses over going down doesn't mean you go into a down move. It means you wait until it's moving, the 2-day's moving in the same direction as the weekly vertical crossover. Please, important lesson there. Now, lastly, going to go back to our weekly chart. Going to take a look at gold. What is gold doing? Well, our weekly vertical crossover in gold occurred all the way back on the 27th of January. Gold went up for a while, dropped for a while, and then we had another 2-day vertical crossover going up, and of course, up for quite a while, starting to lose some of that energy. Still above on the weekly chart, the weekly vertical trend line, although it is losing energy both on the PPO, the price percent oscillator, and the derivative oscillator. Let's hone in on the 2-day. What do we see? Well, it's closed, crossing over, going down. And again, it did close just below the weekly. So we saw gold cross over on the 2-day, going up after it had crossed over, going down. And great movement up there for a while, starting on the 24th. That's when that crossover occurred on the 2-day. And of course, it's now crossed back over, going down. So be aware of that warning sign if you've been in an up move thanks to the weekly vertical crossover. You've now got another pullback on that 2-day. A lot of you are always saying, where are my exit points? Well, we like to exit higher than waiting on a 2-day, but when you want to know when to really seriously consider, hey, that up move ain't bouncing back again for a little while, when that 2-day crosses over, that's usually the absolute best sign that you're going to have to take a break in up movement for a while. Folks, that's where we are as we end the day on Thursday and as we go into the last trading day of the week, and actually the last trading day of, just making sure, no, we still got one, yes, the last trading day of the 1st on Monday. So thank you so much for being with us. We love to hear from you. If you have questions, problems, concerns, write to us, cw@chartingwealth.com. Of course, please sign up for our newsletter, which includes this video that we send out every day. As soon as we complete it, it'll show up in a link to it. It'll show up in your mailbox, your email, and you can access it and follow along with us. We, of course, are not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. We want you to train with us, learn how to read these stock charts. Once you get good at doing this, doing virtual trades and practicing, and you feel confident in then making up your own mind with your own technique that you might modify from ours. There's a million different ways. As many traders as there are different potential techniques, but you will develop your own special way of doing things, tweaking things out. And once you get good at that, then of course, and only then, can you figure out how you want to spend your own money in jumping into the market and making successful trades is what we want to hear. So thank you so much for being with us. Let us hear from you. Follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you're not already on our list to receive our text messaging when those weekly vertical crossovers occur, All you have to do is text to the number 33222 on your cell phone. That is, you dial in 33222 and you text the word Charting Wealth. We'll put you on that list and notify you. You will rarely receive more than 1 or 2 texts a month. We will never share your email address or your telephone number with others. Thank you so much. We love to hear from you. ChartingWealth.com.